got to have the. Okay, so this morning's share has been donated Ilu Nishmas, Krainer Bas Walter, and I think Ruthie, you're on under mute. Somebody else isn't muted. Okay. Oh, there's Janice. Okay. Janice, are you in yet? Janice is connecting. Morning, Lucy. Look at that.
Morning.
Back in sunny London, huh? Okay, so Janice, I just mentioned that this share has been sponsored Le'ilu Nishmas Krainer Bas Walter, Shlevan Aliyah Nashamas, and somebody just asked me please to add been a busy morning, that a refer shlema for Rafal Gershon ben Yosefa Ilana, and also I can add my mother-in-law, Tema Bas Sarah Bela. And Emir Hashem for everybody.
Amen, amen.
So good morning, Rebbetzin. I'm sorry that this week that I'm here in London, but Emir Hashem can only hope for next week in Yerushalayim.
I hear you pop in all the time, so that's all.
And now I'm looking for more reasons, but I'm sure Hashem will find another reason for me soon.
You don't need to look far, you need just
Book a ticket, that's it.
You have to, even though Anshe and Sibur are oftentimes the last one out, turn off the lights on the country. Okay, hi everybody, hi Ruthie, hi Nomi, hi Haley, hi Yudipatia. I'm going to be near you for Shabbos, Yudipatia, in RBS. So ask Dina, we'll get together. Hi Janice, hi Ilana.
Morning.
Hi Terry, and see who else is here. Hi MK and Samsung, hi Zalia, and Zavora and Stella, and Shulamit and Lucy, Carmen, hi Marcel, and hi Shulamit again. And hi all the phone numbers that are on that I don't know your name.
I don't know if you saw Haley and hi Ilana and Zichron Yaakov, so exciting.
Who's in Zichron Yaakov?
Ilana Hershevitz, and I saw Haley's on the side making it's only water, Haley. Come on, got to be more exciting than that.
Right, Haley. I said hi to Haley. Yeah. And who's in? Ilana's in Eretz Yisrael. She just left. Okay. Okay, hi Nomi also. Again, okay, and Terry, that's a beautiful colored scarf you're wearing. And Ruthie. All right, ladies. So we are continuing, I think just today and maybe next week, that's it, we'll finish with our names and with the Aleph Beis letters. And then you have all the homework of making it relevant to you. Where were we last week? I don't know. I'm doing this in a few different groups, so I don't remember where we're up to.
You got up to Ches.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Marcel just asked me to tell you that her video is not working, but she's waving, so there you go.
Okay. Hi, Marcel. I know I missed you yesterday. I know that I intimidated all of the UK ladies with my email from the Wednesday share, but okay, we have to do. Okay, here's our letters again, and we looked at the chet. We saw that the chet was a vav and a zayin attached. Oh, your little boy looks at the aleph base. He sees these letters and he knows them. See the aleph and the base. Yeah. Okay. So we're up to the tet. The tet is the number 9, and it's an inverted. It's the first letter of the word tov, good. Right. The first time the letter tet appears in Torah, it's the word good, tov, which means that all tets are good. All letter tet is good. You see that tet is the second letter that has a crown. The gimel in the tet, gimel is the first, and the tet is the second, has a crown. A crown means this very, very deep letter that's not used very often. That's what a crown of Zion also has that. These are very deep letters that are not used as often in Torah. If you count up the number of times a gimel or a tet or a Zion is used, not so much. The letters that have crowns are Sha'atnez, Getz, Shin, Ayin, Tet, Nun, Zayin, Gimel, and Sadik. That's how many letters are used in the Torah that have crowns on them. And you know that Rabbi Akiva, he used to make a Dvar Torah on words that have crowns on them. And the crown represents, the Torah represents the crown that we got when we received the Torah. Okay, so therefore Tet is a hard word in terms of a name. We have Tova, and we have Tuvia, and then it's not so, Terry has to mute, and Janice has to mute. Anybody who's not muted has to mute. And there are certain words that have a tet in them that the idea is to go inward. Because if you look at the tet, the tet is going inside. It goes inside itself. See? So the tet represents going inward. The idea of it's good to go inward and to know yourself. Chazal tell us that right now in the month of Adar, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. Everybody knows that. And we all want to be happy. And we all have to figure out, how can we be happy? What can we do to be happy? And so everyone has a different formula, whatever makes you happy. But the general formula is that Ein Tov Ela Torah, learning Torah makes you happy. And learning Torah is the step, is the bridge between a human being and God. Because Hashem inserted himself, so to speak, into the Torah. And so how do we make ourselves happy? We try to be as godlike as we can, as godly as we can. And Chazal tell us that that means to be a balas chesed, to give, to keep giving, to do gemilut chasadim, to keep giving, and giving for the purpose of giving, and not giving for the purpose of getting. So many people give for the purpose of to receive or to get something back in return, and that's not going to make you happy. And I can tell you many stories of people who try to ingratiate themselves by giving and giving, but it was really not a real giving. It was a giving because they wanted to get something out of it. And that kind of giving is really taking, and it's very unpleasant. And so to give in order to get doesn't work. To give in order to give and in order to be like God, that works. And that's tet, that's tov. So a person has to go very deeply into themselves to try to figure out, am I giving in order to take, or am I giving in order to receive? And the easiest answer is, you're giving in order to take if you're not happy by giving. If you're giving and you're not receiving happiness from it, it means that you're giving in order to take something back. And that's not what it's all about. Okay, I'm going to do the letters very quickly now because I really want to finish up. The letter Yud is the letter of divinity, and it's the letter of godliness, and it's actually a simple point. Here's a Yud, it's a simple point. And even though it has a nice cute mark above and a nice cute mark below, but Chazal say it's really supposed to represent a point, a point. The Yud is a point, the Vav is a straight line, and the Hey represents a flat surface. No dimension, one dimension, two dimensions. And so the Yud is the simplest of all letters, and it's the holiest of all letters. You know what maybe I'll do? Maybe I think I said I'll do this, but I didn't do it. I'm gonna send a copy of this I'll make a picture of this. This is how the letters look in the Torah. And maybe Rebbetzin Rochel will just send it out to you on an email. So you don't have to keep looking at my paper. You could print it out yourself. So the Yud is the simplest letter, and it's also the holiest letter. Every one of us has a Yud in our name because Yisrael, that's who we are. We're Yisrael, and that begins with a Yud. That means that every Jew, whether you have a Yud in your personal name or not, that doesn't matter. We are all Yisrael, and the world is trying to break up Yisrael. They're trying to take away that concept. Yisrael means Yashar, straight, El, to God. And the world is trying to break us and destroy us. And we don't know now who's on our side and who's not. You can only trust Hashem. So the Yud means the tiniest letter representing God, representing the largest point of consciousness. If you have, by the way, if you happen to have, look at the letters that have a Yud in them. Aleph has 2 Yuds. Remember we said? A Gimel has a Yud at the bottom. A Hey has a Yud over the foot of the Yud. The Yud, of course, has a Yud. As we go down, anything else has a Yud. That's basically it. A Pei has an inside Yud. A Tzadik has a Yud on its back. And that's it. So all these other letters have Yuds within them. They have Yuds within them, a real Yud. But also we all have a Yud inside of us, we're Bnei Yisrael. We have to be proud of that. And Hashem is tightening the screws a little bit. I know that I say this all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it. Hashem is tightening the screws. He's squishing the world, and he's telling everyone, come to Israel. Come live here. Make Aliyah. It's not perfect here, but it's where we're supposed to be. And Einei Hashem, Hashem's eyes are here on Eretz Yisrael. They Reish Shana and Achos Shana all the time. So Hashem wants you to run away from the exile and come back home. Please keep that in mind. Come to Eretz Yisrael. Find a place here. Buy a place here. If you have any extra money, don't go on vacation and don't don't decorate your house. Put a down payment on an apartment here. I worry for the people in Chutz La'aretz, and I am a little bit of a warrior, but still, I never share that. But it's time already. Yud is a tiny, tiny letter, but it contains everything. And it means a Yid. It means a Jew. It means a Yud. It means a Jew. It also means a hand. And so therefore Yud is a letter of action and activity. And also the Chaf, which is its next door neighbor, which means the palm of the hand. The Kaf is the palm of the hand. And so you have the Yud is the hand, the Yad, and then the Chaf is the palm of the hand. It means action, activity. Okay, so now I'm going to go through, for those of you who are privileged to already have children, we're going to go through the first 10 letters of the Aleph Beis, actually the first 12, and show you what Hashem is telling us. If you haven't been privileged in this life to have children, it just means that you've had all the children that you needed to have as a soul's journey. And I know that sounds hard and harsh, but I can say because I have one son. If I had 20, if I had 10, if I had a large family, I wouldn't be so willing to share this. But because I was also, Hashem said, you have to only bring down one into this world. And so that's how it goes. However many you have in this life, because we have our soul's journey, our soul has to bring down, we're connected on the level of soul to a certain number of souls. And in all of our life's journeys, we have to bring down those souls into this world. Sometimes we're as a man, sometimes we're as a woman. But here's the teaching of the Aleph Beis letters in reference to having a child. Aleph is Hashem, and Beis is the creation. Gimel is the concept of giving, and Dalet is the concept of receiving. Hey is the expansion into this world. Vav represents a man, a husband. Zayin represents the wife. Chet is the chuppah. Tet is the 9 months of pregnancy. Yud is the neshama, the child. And you have to teach a child, Kaf, how to work in this world. You have to teach a child how to use its hands, meaning how to work in this world. And then Lamed, you have to teach a child how to learn. You have to teach a child how to learn, how to read, how to be in this world, how to have understanding in this world. So there you have, just these letters are talking about the journey of of life. Okay, that's a simple reading of the letters here and what they teach on the level of the cycle of life. Now, if you're not privileged to have children, then you have to go back to this lamed and you have to support someone. You have to teach others. You have to teach others. You have to give them. You have to give others a hand, right? And to give. I don't know if this is a UK expression, but it's American English expression. To give somebody a hand means to help someone. Means be charitable, and then involve yourself in some kind of a teaching, whether it's supporting a yeshiva, giving money to a yeshiva, so that if you're not privileged to have children in this world that you are able to teach Torah to, give money to somebody else who will teach Torah to other Jewish children. That's a hard thing, and it's a hard thing, but I learned that from a friend of mine. I have a couple, they are now, the husband is already in the next world. They were never blessed with children, and at a certain point they went to every rabbi and every tzaddik and every makubal, and they all gave them hope and praying and all of that. They finally went to a straight a Rav who spoke straight to them. He was a Sephardi Rav and a Kabbalist. I mean, he knows, he wouldn't take this on his own shoulders without. And he said to them, listen, you're not going to have kids in this world. And they were very good couples together. They loved each other very much. They were already, I don't know how old they were when they did this. And he said, you already finished. You've been together many times in this as a couple in many lifetimes, and you had all the children. You brought them all down, and they're all holy souls. And all the lifetimes, you always brought down very holy souls, and they remained good. And your generations, you don't realize how many of your own generations from a past life are walking around in this world. Because if you lived 100 years ago and you had children, and you're not here anymore because it's 100 years ago, but your descendants are here. Anyway, he told this couple, you have to now focus on something else, do charity work. And they opened up I don't want to say what, because I don't want to identify them, but they began to do charity work for people with families, with children, etc. So that's called the lamed. The lamed is to teach. So here you go. You have the chaf. Here you have your chaf. The chaf and the kaf is one of those letters that we talked about that has a dot like a bet. It has a different pronunciation, like a gimel and a zal, it also. And the chaf means your hand. It also means to be judged, or to be in kaf mozaim. Kaf in Hebrew means the scales. So the chaf is the ability to give a helping hand, lend the helping hand. It's a simple letter. It doesn't have any adornment. It's like the resh. It has no adornment. See the chaf? Here. The chaf has it's a simple letter, no adornments at all. Just like the resh down here also. Very few letters have no adornment. The resh has no adornment. The chaf has no, the tav has none. Now also, the chaf, which means to help someone, give him a hand, right? The kaf, because the kaf is this is the part of the hand that's called a kaf. In Hebrew, a kaf is a spoon, because it looks like the inside of a hand. So the kaf is also the first letter of the word keter. Keter is the highest of the sephiros. It means the crown. It means the crown of God. It means being mamlich Hashem in everything that you do. It means the following. I'm going to share with you. This week there was Nebuch. It was so sad with the families last week who passed away, and all these tzaddikim are going to pay shiva calls to these families. And so one of my favorite tzaddikim that I always mention is the Yanuka, and he went to pay a shiva call. And he went to pay a few shiva calls, and they recorded it. Nebuch, wherever he goes, they record him. He's always being recorded, which really is an annoying thing to do, but he keeps his eyes closed all the time, so he doesn't know what they're doing, if they're recording him or not. And he went to pay a shiva call, and he said, I don't know who was. It wasn't clear who had passed away. It might have been chas v'shalom, a child of someone, because he said the parents should be strong, and I'm not exactly sure who passed. But whatever it was, he said the following, and it's such an important rule. And I'm going to share with you. And again, it's because I'm working on this. I share with you what I'm working on. So he said like this. Everybody, a little bit of Kabbalah, a little bit of deep Torah, but you can handle it. He said, we all know that, let's say, I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you have a child who's just starting to eat, right? How old is that when they start to eat solids? Depends on how careful you are. But let's say you're giving a child, let's say they're 8 months old, and you're starting to give them solids. But you know that you can't give them a piece of steak. You can't give them a hamburger. You can't give them a piece of pizza. Because first of all, they don't have the mouth to chew it. They don't have the teeth to chew. And it's also not the right food for them. So what does oftentimes a mother do? And by the way, this is all the Sephardim do this. Maybe Ashkenazim not so much, but the Sephardim do this all the time. Whatever they're going to give their infant, if they're afraid that it might have too many pieces or it might be too big, they'll put it in their own mouth, chew it a little bit to make sure that it has it's broken down, and then give it to the child. That might sound gross maybe to a Western world, but actually it happens to be a good thing because the mother's pre-digesting the food also. But anyway, so a bigger person has to take things and make them smaller for a smaller person. Another idea. Let's say you have a beginner in Torah learning, a real beginner in Torah learning. You can't start teaching them like all the details of Muktzah on Shabbos. It's just too much for them. You have to first start with the easy ideas of what Shabbos is and the beauty of Shabbos and the family of Shabbos and the, illuminating the world you have to start with those ideas. You have to take a big concept called Shabbos. Shabbos is a huge concept, but you have to make it into bite-sized pieces for a beginner, right? True? It's like that with any subject, the truth is. Think about how you learned numbers, right? When we were in first grade, right? Ruthie, you have to mute yourself. When we were in first grade, so they taught you this is one apple, this is 2 apples. I remember my granddaughter once, she didn't like math at all. And she said, what do I have to learn this for? What do I need to know multiplication? And I could just do it with a calculator. So I said, you're going to go to the store. They're going to give you a quick deal on something. You're not going to think twice. And you're not going to have to understand what numbers are. Anyway, the idea is same thing if you're going to work out. Let's say you're working out, you're going to the gym, and you see somebody who's incredibly fit and incredibly strong, and you want to be like them, but you can't do what they're doing because they've been working out for 20 years and you could barely touch your toes. So how could you do a workout of a champion, right? You have to do things at your level. And so the same thing with everything. Hashem made this world in a step down process where Hashem takes a huge concept and then he constricts it and constricts it and constricts it and narrows it down until our brain can tolerate it. Same thing with anything. For example, it says that Hashem loves, the Baal Shem Tov used to always say this. The Baal Shem Tov used to always say, Hashem loves the Jew who's the worst sinner. Think about the worst sinner Jew. You think about a bunch of them. They're in politics and they're in whatever. Think about the worst Jew. And whoever just came on has to mute themselves. And that Hashem loves that Jew. Okay, as long as he's not a Erev Rav or somebody who's really, harming others. But let's say
Shoshana, welcome from South Africa. Can you just mute yourself?
That's what's her name's mother, right? So hi, sweetie. So think about the idea. Hashem loves. Let's say me. I know I'm not the perfect Jew, and I know that if I were better, I would think that Hashem would love me more, right? No, the Baal Shem Tov says Hashem loves every Jew more than if we put all the love in the world together that ever existed. Hashem loves the worst Jew more than that amount of love. all the love of the whole world of this 5,783 years, that concept of love, Hashem's love, is so big that we can't imagine it. We know what our love feels like. We know what love feels like. But Hashem's love is so much greater that it's not even imaginable. Same thing with Hashem's pain. Now listen, really Hashem doesn't have pain because Hashem is perfect and Hashem doesn't need us and Hashem doesn't get anything from us. But on a certain level, the Torah teaches us that Hashem wants to relate to us. And so Hashem allows himself to have certain adjectives attached or describing him just for a human being to be able to have a relationship with God. So the Torah says that Hashem is very upset when he sees how Jews suffer. Hashem is very upset when he sees how exile is taking its toll on us. In fact, the Gemara says that when Hashem sees other the nations of the world and how they're giving us they're not, how we're suffering under them, he cries, and those tears create earthquakes. And we've been having a series of earthquakes here in Eretz Yisrael. In all the years that I'm living here, okay, so it's only 23 years, and a few years before then, I don't remember having one after the other. Yesterday and today was quiet. No, yesterday we had another one. Yesterday we had one in the north. We didn't feel it in Jerusalem, but we had another earthquake yesterday. Anyway, so the idea I'm trying to say is that when an idea trickles down to us, we get the little version of it. So now, if there's somebody who's going, in Kabbalah we're taught, why do certain people have certain challenges? It's because they're supposed to pray using their own challenges. They're supposed to pray for everybody else with that same challenge. And they're supposed to pray for the nation, for our nation. For example, when you have people who are having any kind of machlokas, difference of opinion, two people, whether they're siblings, whether they're spouses, whether they're a boss and an employer, friends, any two Jews who are in an argument, and it's so uncomfortable. The two Jews who are in the argument are supposed to be they're supposed to solve their argument, it's true, but they're also supposed to be saying, we are sort of like in an argument with God, meaning the Jewish people and God are not unified right now. We're not in the Beis Hamikdash. We don't have the Beis Hamikdash operational. So when two people are suffering, they should try to elevate, try to see what's the root of their suffering on a higher level and pray for that higher level. That's called using your situation in a holy way. Sometimes Hashem gives people suffering because he knows that they are capable of seeing a bigger picture and saying, oh, Hashem, I'm going through my own little life with my own little kid. I'm having a fight with one of my kids. How much so? And that's a trickled down emotion compared to your feeling of rejection, so to speak, when the Jewish people don't follow your rules. If you have a parent and a child who are not getting along, who don't have a good relationship, it's a terribly painful thing. It's one of the worst pains in the world. And so we're supposed to elevate that and say, Hashem, we're your children, the whole nation, all Jews are your children. And some of us are having a hard time getting along with you, and it gives you aggravation because you're telling us what to do and we're not listening. Okay, that's the letter Chaf. The letter Chaf is the Keter. Keter means the highest consciousness of God. Hashem is a king, he has a crown, and we're supposed to operate with that consciousness of whatever is happening in my life. I have to fix it, and I can go through it, and of course we're all humans and we're all weak, but also incorporate davening for the larger picture, of whatever is chaser in the world. I remember when I was looking to move, now Baruch Hashem, I'm in this apartment, I moved to it, and thank you Hashem, I'm settled, but the Rav said, when you need an apartment, so daven for the Beis Hamikdash, because Hashem needs an apartment, so to speak. You need a place to live. Hashem, so to speak, needs a place to live. So if why did Hashem give you that? Because he wants you. You have a special ability to talk to daven about that, because you're suffering through the same thing. So whatever it is we're going, and we're all going through stuff. Everybody's going through stuff. That's the chaf. Think about the keter. Think about a keter means a crown. Chaf, tav, resh. That's how you spell keter. Starts with a chaf. Anywhere that starts with a letter, that's its letter. Lamed is a teacher. Here's the lamed. See, that's all it is. It has to reach up to heaven, get the information, and then bring it down to the world. So high and low. That's a chaf. I have my name Rochel has a chaf in it, has a lamed in it, and that's how I know I was going to be a teacher. Not really, because I just found this out many years after I was teaching. But after I found that, I said, oh, because it says about Rochel Imena, she was a teacher. Leah was also a teacher. They both shared the lamed. So a lamed is, and actually the lamed is a composite letter of, look at this, a chaf and a vav. That's chaf and vav is 26. That's Hashem's gematria. And it means reach up high to high information to the Torah and bring it down and give it over to people. And I always tell, if you're not sure if you want to be a teacher, or if your grandchildren or grandchildren are not sure if they want to be teachers, how do you know if you want to be a teacher? I'll tell you how. If every time you hear something and you want to share it with someone, you hear a new information, you hear a shir, you hear a new recipe, you hear a new anything, you hear anything that's important to you, and you have to share it with someone, that's the element of a teacher. That's the bechin of a teacher. You want to, you receive from above, and now you're giving it, you're bringing it down to somebody who doesn't know that. That's a lamed, that's a lomed, lilmod, ulamed, that's what the letter lamed is. It's a teacher, and it represents also it represents the heart. Chazal say that the lev, the word lev begins with the heart. The letter after the lamed is a mem, that's the malach, begins the brain. Anyway, the lamed is a heart, it's a hartzika letter. It means to have emotion. That's a lamed. It means to have emotion. And that's why it's interesting, if you look at Rochel and Leah, they shared that. They share the letter lamed, right? Rochel ends in a lamed and Leah begins in a lamed. That's their shared letter. That's why people give the name Rochel Leah and they don't give the name Leah Rochel, because it's smooth, it flows smoothly. Even though I have met girls whose names were Leah Rochel, which is interesting because it's a very unusual combination. Clearly the parents said, well, Leah was the older one, so she should have the first name. Okay, so lamed means to learn, and even in English, to learn means to teach, to learn, to teach. If you learn and you don't share, then on a certain level, you've only learned it halfway, because you really can only learn something completely if you share it. That's what we make the children, or we make, if you're a chavrusa, you have a chavrusa, you have a learning partner. So it's not good for one person to always read and the other person to always listen. You have to go back and forth, because how do you really learn? By teaching. You learn by teaching, by demonstrating, by saying it over, by repeating it. A lot of times in my class, I'll give in my schools where I teach in Neve, I'll tell the girl, I'll give a class, whatever, and then afterwards I say, okay, what did I just say? And it catches them off guard because they listen with sometimes half an ear. What did I just say? Repeat what I just said. If you can, good. If you can't, then I'll say it again because you didn't hear it. That's a lamed, is to learn and to give over. Okay, the mem is one of those letters that you spell it mem. We have two letters, mem, and nun. Mem, nun. Vav also, vav. Right, that the letter, the way you spell it out is the letter itself. How do you spell a vav? Okay, there's many ways to spell it. Kabbalistically, you can spell it vav, aleph vav, vav, yud vav, or just vav. And how do you spell a hey? You could spell it hey yud hey aleph hey, and hey. But anyway, the mem means mayim. It's the water element. It means water, and it means, because the lamed and the mem have to, because they're next door neighbors, right? I'm doing this backwards on my here. Here's the lamed, here's the mem, as it's written. The mem is also a chaf and a vav. See, here's a chaf and a vav. So the lamed, chaf and vav on top, mem, chaf and vav right next to it. Also gematria 26. And these two letters have to be connected to each other because they're next to each other. So the Lamed is to teach, and the Mem, which means Mayim, represents the Mayim of Torah, the Yam Shel Chachma. In Chazal's terminology, the Mem, which is water, the Mem element, water, represents the oceans, but it represents, what does the ocean represent? The ocean is almost endless. It's deep, it's vast, it's scary, it's soothing, it's bathing, it's cleansing. It's so much the ocean. It represents wisdom. The Mem is called the Yam Shel Chachma, the ocean of wisdom. So the Lamed means to learn. What are you supposed to learn? You're supposed to learn the wisdoms of the world, the ocean of wisdom. That's the Mem. And the Mem, of course, as you know, it has a closed version. This is called the open version, and this is called the closed version. Because if you take this Mem and you flip, if I knew how to do cartoons and all of those things, I would do it with you. If you take this Vav and you flip it over, it will close the Mem and it will look like this. That's called an open Mem, a closed Mem. Look again. Here's the Vav. You see it has a guy on the outside. If you take that and you flip it inward, you flip this Vav inward, it's going to attach on the top, it's going to attach on the bottom, and you're going to get the closed Mem. So this closed Mem is also a Chaf and a Vav. It's just that it's closed. You can't see the Chaf and the Vav. So the Mem means all wisdom. Now, I'll tell you from the Vilna Gaon. I love bringing Chassidus and the Vilna Gaon together. The Vilna Gaon says that any true science is worthwhile learning. And he told his students, it's worthwhile to learn art, music, biology, chemistry, mathematics. Those are the actual sciences as opposed to the theoretical sciences. Also linguistics, he said, to learn. Because the Yam Shel Chachma, in order to understand Torah, you have to have a broad, open mind. That's why he never slept. I think they say about the Vilna Gaon, he slept between 2 and 4 hours a night. And that's because he was always learning. And what did he do in the bathroom is when he learned science and math and whatever. And I think I told you this, that when I have my degree in Torah teaching, but also in mathematics and science. And so when I was in university, so we learned the history of mathematics, and they mentioned the Vilna Gaon. His last name was Kramer. They called him Kramer's Law. And they mentioned him, and they said, yes, this is a very famous rabbi who's supposed to be a genius, and he was one who made this law. And we have a tradition that when he was in the bathroom, and he was, so he would think in mathematical terms. And even though mathematics is also holy, but it's not like Torah. Anyway, that's the Mem. The Mem is the Ma'ayan, the well of wisdom. We know that Mem, the number Mem, the letter Mem is the Gematria 40. And we know that 40 is a transformative number. 40 days before a baby's born, its life is discussed in Shemayim and announcements are made of it. 40, a mikvah, which begins with the letter Mem, transforms, and it contains 40 measurements of water. What does a mikvah transforms? It transforms from impure to pure. If a convert is converting, they go into the mikvah and it activates their soul. It transforms from a non-Jew to a Jew. 40 years in the desert got us ready for coming into Eretz Yisrael. 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu was in Har Sinai, bringing down the Torah to make it available to human beings. So the letter Mem, which is Mayim, transforms, and the number 40 is a transformative number. So if you are turning 40, or if you are in your 40s, or if you're actually even 39, that's where I stop it for 39. If you're at 39, which means that you're in your 40th year, so you're transforming. And the secular world calls it midlife crisis, and we call it transformation, because 40 is a transformative number and letter. So Mem in your name means always to grow, always to transform. Nun, I know I'm going very quickly, just to give you an idea. Here's a nun. Nun also has this beautiful crown, and it goes the furthest down. It's the deepest letter, it's the furthest down, and it's one of the Mashiach letters. So we have Mem. Mem is the first letter of Mashiach, right? Here's the Mem, first letter of Mashiach. Nun is also a letter of Mashiach. I don't know if you knew that, but Nun is a letter of Mashiach, as it says in Parak 72 in Tehillim. Lifnei Shemesh, before the sun was created, Yinon Shemo. Hashem gave the name of Mashiach as Nun, Yinon, Nun. That's one of the names of Mashiach, is Yinon, Yud Nun, Vav Nun. And actually, people use that name. And if you look at the name Yinon, Yud Nun, Vav Nun, so it's parallel to Yud K, Vav K, because the Nun is 50 and the Hey is 5, and they're the same equivalency. 50 and 5 in Gematria is the same. So Yinon is like Yud K, Vav K. The letter Nun is a Mashiach letter. And the beautiful teaching of Mashiach's letter is like this. First of all, it has a crown, because Mashiach's going to have a crown. But the letter Nun halachically has to go down, the furthest under the ground. Now, it might look like the Chaf Sofit also, but not. The Nun goes deepest under the line. When you're writing a Sefer Torah, the Nun goes deepest under the line. And so Chazal tell us that Mashiach is going to have to relate to the lowest people, the people who are spiritually at the lowest level. Now, we who are studying Torah, we women who are studying Torah and keeping mitzvot and making Hashem proud and trying hard and harder, we are not the lowest level. But our generation, the Rabbanim, the Tzaddikim are saying that our generation is the lowest generation that ever lived. That's why we're waiting for Mashiach, because we're not supposed to get any lower than this. So the Nun represents our generation and the lowest generation. That's why Lubavitch Rebbe, when it came to Tafshin Nun, when we entered the Nuns, which was 30 years ago, he began to get very excited. And he was saying that, yes, that's when we're entering the Mashiach process. And if you look at history, you'll see that in Tafshin Nun, which was 33 years ago, tremendous, that's when Russia fell apart, the internet became available, the world started going crazy. 33 years ago, exactly when we began Tafshin Nun Mashiach time. So if you have a Nun, you have to be a Mashiach person. Means always asking for Hashem, always asking Hashem for Mashiach. Look at Rabbi Nachman, beginning Nun, ending Nun, right? Mashiach has a Nun in his name because the Yud and the Mem come together to be Nun. Okay, it's good. All of these letters are great letters. When I teach this in the other class, in the other schools, the girls always say, like, is my name good? Is my letter good? Yeah, of course it's good. Every letter has power to it. Every letter has huge amounts of spiritual energy. So Shoshana, you have a Nun in your name, right? Adlana has a Nun in her name. Naomi has a Nun. I'm just looking at who's on my screen. Who else has a Nun? Yudit Batya, Yael, Haley, I don't know your Hebrew name, I forgot it. Who else? Shoshana Biliak has a Nun. Who else is there? I can't. Okay, I don't know any of the other Hebrew names. Who's that? Okay. Whoever's in Samsung has a Nun. Okay. The Mem and the Nun spell out man in the Chava Devora. That's Chava, no Nun. Okay, but you have Chava. You have Chava and you have Devora. And, okay. The Mem and the Nun together spell out the word man. The man is that miraculous food that we ate in the desert. It represents also Parnasah. So if you have a Mem and a Nun in your name, like Nachman, right? Nechama, that's a very strong name for Parnasah. So if you have that in your name, pray for other people who need Parnasah. If you have the power in your name of Mem and Nun, right? Or Nun and Mem, it could be down the direction. Pray for people who need Parnasah. Whatever you have, Chevra, ladies, whatever strength you have, use the power of prayer and the power of action to spread your blessings. Naomi, you have that. Nun and men, yeah, you have that, Naomi. So you have to pray for everybody's parnasah. You have to pray that everybody should, and also trust in Hashem, because the man, that was a big test, 40 years of a test, every day. Am I going to have food? Am I not going to have food? Of course you're going to have food, but it was one of those things where you went to sleep with nothing in the cabinet. Okay, if you had a sheep, if you had a cow, you knew you could get milk and cheese, but still, the man was that food that everybody wanted because it was representative of their spiritual level. If the man came right to your door, then Hashem is giving you a hug and a pat on the back and saying, good job. If the man was like, if you had to go, like some of the people who were not so good, they had to go forage for the man. They had to go into the fields outside of the far, far away, and Hashem was saying, get your act together. Hashem is so good to us. He was so tough in the desert. If you spoke Lashon Hara, you got tzarat. Right away, you got tzarat. Okay, you got a few times, you got a few warnings, right? Because first you would see on your skin something, and then you'd have to go to the Kohen, and he would say, I'm not sure. And then right away, you have to say, okay, what did I do wrong? And you really, you had to work on yourself. And that tzarat was till the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash. We had that because we had the Mishkan. We had the ability to purify them. Okay, man, memnon. Okay, here comes the samach. Samach over here. A completely simple letter, a circle. Samach. Very few people have a samach in their name. In their Hebrew name, Sima is a name that we'll use. Esther has a samach in her name, but it's not. It's a very, very uncommon name. And that's because to be a samech, you have to be very strong. Samech means to support, to be supportive, to be supportive, to help other people. That's what it means. Somech Hashem l'chol hanoflim. Hashem supports us all. Hashem supports us, and He supports us continuously. Because that samach is a continuous letter. It goes circle around and around and around and around, right? It's a continuous letter. It could also mean needing support. Because as we learned, when we learned the elements, or whatever you have as your strength, could also be a weakness. And then Hashem gave you that name to give you strength. For example, Yehudit, which we have Yehudit here. Yehudit is a very strong name. Yehudit is a very strong name. Now, Yehudit Batya, I happen to know her. She's a very strong lady. But I've met Yehudits who are very, very passive and very weak and meek and fearful. And they got a big name, Yehudit. Like, whoa, how do you get such a big name when you're so... Because Hashem knew that they needed that name to strengthen them, to give them the power to survive in this world. So they got a strong name, even though by nature they were not strong. I know a few people like that, that have very powerful names, big names, biblical names, and they need that power of their name because by nature their birth chart and their mazal and their personality is weak and not strong. Okay, now the samach, which is a circle, which means to be supportive and to need support. There's no reason why we should hesitate to ask for support. I'm not talking about financial support. Okay, sometimes you need to ask for that also, right? We have in our Torah, we have a built-in system of charity for people who need. But I think nowadays people are hesitating. So people sometimes hesitate to ask for emotional support because everyone wants to appear strong and perfect, but people's lives are falling apart. Everybody has something that is totally overwhelming them or slightly overwhelming them, and they have to be open to asking for help. That's the samach. The samach means give the other person the opportunity to help you. By asking for help, you're giving another person an opportunity to help. Now, of course, there's laws, there's rules of who you ask and how you ask and why you, right? You have to ask. So you can't just let's say you had a fight with your husband. You can't tell every single friend of yours, because that's Lashon Hara. You have to figure out who will be a purposeful conversation, who can actually make an effect of change, help you to bridge whatever differences you have. So asking for support is a very big thing. You have to know all the laws, all the halachas of asking support. The main one we have to ask for support is Hashem. Please Hashem, help me in every single thing that I do. Please Hashem, help me in every single thing that I do. And before you do anything, please Hashem, help me to do this. Hashem, help the food to come out good. Help the share to come out good. Help me to have strength to deal with X, Y, and Z. All the time, asking Hashem, support me. Somech Hashem Nochol Noflim. Somech Noflim. We say in Shemona Esrei. Somech Noflim. Hashem is always supporting us. That's the Samech. The Samech means to ask for support, and it also means a cycle of life, because it's a circle, right? Remember the Lion King, that movie? I remember seeing that a million years ago, and it was such nice music. I enjoyed it very much. I saw it in my school. They when I was teaching in America. So for Hanukkah, once you had to go do all kinds of things. So they showed them that movie, and I was entranced by it. It was such pretty music, and it was a nice idea. I don't remember the idea. I just remember they had a lion. There was a lion there, and a good lion, a bad lion, a baby lion, something like that. But I remember there was a song called "The Circle of Life" or "The Cycle of Life." Yeah, that's the letter Samach. And the letter Samach means like this. Listen, ladies, if you're young, there's a point in your life where you're going to be a receiver, and there's a point in your life where you're going to be a giver, right? When you're young, when all of us were babies, I know it's such a weird thing to think about, but we were all babies. We were all receiving from our parents, and then we became older. We began to give and give and give and give, and we never want to receive. Meaning, we want to be able to. We ask Hashem, don't make me needy when I'm old. But when you're 120 years old, you can ask your great-grandchildren to walk with you to shul Shabbos morning. You'll have to need, right? You need their help to do that. So the cycle of life means wherever you're at, be there and accept that. And don't look down on anybody else, right? When you're young, you look at old people. I remember being young and going to shul and he has to mute himself. Seeing all the older women, right? And thinking, oh, that's the old lady section. We sat in the young section in shul, right, in the lady section, but the old section over there. Now I'm in the old section over there, of the ladies who come all the time, they come early. And that's the cycle of life. Don't be upset about it. That's just how it goes. So accept it and enjoy it. That's why the letter Samach isn't such a popular letter, because it's a hard thing to accept the cycle of life. Okay, Ayin. The last one we'll do today is Ayin. I'm going to do it quickly. Here's letter Ayin. Ayin. Look at the Ayin. It's a nun and a vav. A nun. That's a nun. I know it's like a lopsided nun, but it's a nun and a vav. That's Ayin. Ayin means your eye. It means an eye, like you have, right? We have thank you, Hashem. We can see from our eyes, but it's really a nun. Here's a nun and the vav. So Chazal tell us the most important teaching about your eyes, because it's an eyes, right? Be humble, because what does ayin and nun vav spell? Anav. The letter ayin is made up of a nun and a vav. Spells out the word nun vav, spells out the word anav, to be humble. Whoever's on the phone has to try your best. Who's the host? The host is the one who can meet. No host. I know. I see host not meaning. Okay, doesn't matter. We'll just be fine. So the eyes. Now here goes. I'm going to show you something else. Samech means to close. Ayin means your eyes. Pei means your mouth. Close. So ger. Your ayin, your eyes, and your mouth, and you'll become a tzaddik, and you'll become kadosh, holy. Closing your eyes means don't look with an ayin hara. Don't be jealous. Don't be jealous. Close your eyes to other people's lives. You don't need to know their other people's lives. You need to know your life. Close your eyes a negative eye, close your mouth, don't say negativity, and you become a tzaddik, righteous, and a kadosh, holy. There's that message of these neighboring letters. Samach ayin, pei tzaddik, right? So it's important for us to know where to look and where not to look. Where your eyes should be, where your eyes shouldn't be. Your eyes should be only, Rabbi Nachman says this, he says, only look at other people in case to know what you can do to help them. Only think about other people if it's about how can I help them? How can I service them? How can I serve them? But don't look at other people in terms of yentish, right? Like, what does she get? What does she get? What does she have? How many does she have? How many, right? All of those things, no. Use your eyes in a good way. In a good way, use your eyes. We just finished the decade of ayin, right? Tavshin ayin. We just finished the decade of ayin. Ayin, right? The good eye. Now we're in the decade of the pet. Tavshin pei. Now we're in pei gimel, right? So Hashem is saying, in these 20 years, Sanach, we already passed a long time ago. Keep your eyes in the right place. Keep your mouth in the right way. Get yourself the daily shmiras halashon. Find out what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say. Be careful with how we speak. That helps us. It helps bring the Geula closer. Could you imagine, how does a parent feel? The kids are sitting around the Shabbos table and they're talking about derogatory bad things about each other. You said this, you're lying about that, you stole this, you know. Even if everything they're saying is true, that mother and father is like heartbroken. Like, why are you talking like that? Why can't you focus on the positive? So we have to focus on the positive in our life. That's the ayin. See your life. See your ayin. See your life. Use your eyes to see yourself in the best way possible. When you look to see in the best way possible in yourself and your own, then you see the good in others. When you only see the negative in your own life, the complaining, the sadness, the disappointments, the frustrations, we all have that. We all have that. Everybody, bar none, except for those few special neshamas that come to this world to only serve the Jewish people. Except for those, everybody else, even though we're so good, we all have stuff. So look, focus on the positive. Don't focus on the negative. You'll be happy. You'll have simcha. You'll be able to be in Adar. Mishanichnas Adar. So one of the main teachings of that is when the Mishanichnas Adar means when Adar enters you. When Adar enters you, what does it mean when Adar enters you? When the ideas of Adar enter into your being. What is Adar? It's the month of miracles. And what's a miracle? A miracle is when Hashem is intervening in an unusual way, because everything is a miracle. The fact that we can see each other, you're in England, you're in South Africa, you're in Australia, and I'm in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, and we're talking to each other. And we're learning Torah together. Isn't that a miracle? Yeah, but we just got used to it. When I first got these devices, I told you this story. We brought my old aunt, she should rest in peace, Fega Bas Meir. She was such a tzadikah, my father's sister, his older sister. So we brought her a cordless phone, not even a cell phone, a cordless phone. And she didn't believe it. She didn't believe it would work. I said, okay, Aunt Fanny, here, I'm going to show you. And I called because I didn't have a phone to tell somebody else, but I called my mother's house and I said, here, talk to my mother. And she said, it can't imagine because it didn't have this with a wire, right? And she gets on the phone, she said, Henshi? I said, my mother said, yeah, hi, how are you? She was talking to my aunt. My aunt was looking at the phone like, how is that possible? What's connecting it to me, to you, as if that cord was connecting it. But we got so used to cords that we forgot that when the first phone came out, people went going crazy from that also. And then when cordless and cell phones and screens and all this stuff, right? So those are all miracles, but we're used to those miracles. What do we call a miracle? A miracle is when something that we're not used to. But Adar is a month of miracles. Al Hanisim. We need Nisim. We need Nisim. So when that enters you, that Hashem actually made Nisim for our whole people. In Adar, when that enters you, you could be happy. Hashem could make a nace. The fact that we're breathing is a nace. Enjoy your breathing. Enjoy that you could see. Enjoy that. When you enjoy your miracles and you say thank you, Hashem, for the miracles, when we say thank you, He gives you more miracles. So have a great Shabbos. for those, I'm gonna be in Rampei Shemesh probably for Shabbos. So anybody who's there, we'll get together.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Everybody
Okay.
come.
Have a
Thank you,
beautiful
Rebbetzin.
Haggadah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely Shabbos.
Carmen, do you have a name or not?
For who?
Oh, no, she's got, for,
Can I have
well, Gary's father.
No.
Okay, we'll wait
No,
then.
no.
Okay. Okay, Emir Hashem, just simchas and a good Shabbos to everybody. Thank you, Rebbetzin Silber, but now back to you.
Can I have a recording?
But Ezras
Yeah.
Hashem, it will be
Okay,
later.
Thank you very much, Joy.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks.
Beautiful.
I think what we need, Rebbetzin Silber, is like a nice big chart with little marks of just reminders
Right, good
of
Shabbos, thank you.
encapsulation, and then to put it all on our
It's all
walls,
coming off.
you know, just to remind us.
Okay, that chart will probably be as big as the whole Empire State.
Yeah, that's okay. I've got a very big wall that needs filling, so.
Everybody contribute, everybody can start writing. We'll have to make another project. Everybody will write something about each of the letters and what we have to remember all day long. Thank Hashem, all day long. Good Shabbos, everybody.
Good Shabbos and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Rebbetzin Silber. Bye, Joanne. Speak to you soon.
We'll
get there. We'll get
I'm
there.
taking Lily now into Hesmo boys.
Beautiful.
That is
Enjoy.
such
You're
a
doing
marvel.
wonderful things. It's fine. It's fine. We'll get there when we get
I'll
there.
speak to you later.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Shoshana.